Let's talk about the product rule and the quotient rule. We'll start off with the product rule, which is written out here. It tells us that the derivative of the product of two functions, meaning they're multiplied together, will be the derivative of the first times the plane second plus the derivative of the second times the plane first. Typically, I say this out loud, f prime g plus g prime f, so it has a nice ring to it and I can remember what order to put stuff in. Technically, the order here doesn't matter because you have this term plus this term. You could switch the order of addition, or within each term, f prime times g is the same as g times f prime. Okay, let's try our first example here. So we have a function h of x is root x plus 3x times x to the 9 minus 4. All right, so we can recognize this as the product of this first function here, which we would be able to differentiate using the power rule, times this other function here, which we also would be able to differentiate using the power rule. So I'm going to see this in two pieces. Identify that I need the product rule. I usually write product because the scratch work for all these rules that we're going to learn, including the quotient rule down below, is going to look kind of the same. All right, so I'm doing the product rule. So I want to see this as a function times a function. So this will be the f in the formula, and this will be the g. So the f is root x plus 3x, and the g is x to the 9 minus 4. So then f times g is this original function. All right, so for the formula that we're going to put together, I need f prime and g prime as well. So for each of these, I'll do a smaller derivative problem. The square root of x is really x to the 1/2 power. So its derivative is 1/2 x to the negative 1/2. And then I'll add the derivative of 3x, which is just 3. For g prime, we have 9x to the 8, and then plus 0 for the 4, which I won't write. Okay, so for the derivative of my overall function, I want to take this scratch work in blue and do f prime g plus g prime f. And I'm going to put parentheses around most of these things because they have addition and subtraction in them. So f prime, I have 1/2 x to the negative 1/2 plus 3. F prime g plus g prime f. So I have my 4 pieces plugged into the product rule formula, and I'm not going to simplify this at all. I'm going to leave this as my answer for the derivative of this function. Okay. Let's do a similar example, but with the quotient rule instead. So first we'll talk about the rule itself and then the similarities between our two examples. So the quotient rule is the formula that you're going to use to find the derivative of a function over another function. So it's a quotient or division between the two. So the derivative of f over g is g times f prime minus f times g prime over g squared. All right, so this formula takes a little bit more memorizing, especially because the g and f prime and the f and g prime cannot switch places like they could in the previous formula because there's subtraction between them. So you have to have g and f prime first and then f and g prime second. Okay, so you'll see in this example here, I have root x plus 3x over x to the 9 minus 4. And I'm going to recognize, like, I don't have one derivative rule that covers all of this for sure, but just the top on its own I could do. Just the bottom on its own I could do. So I'm going to see this as f over g, and I'm going to decide to use the quotient rule. So the top function is always the f, so that's root x plus 3x. And the bottom function will always be g in the formula. And if we kind of look back up at the example we just did, these are the exact same choices of f and g, but this is that function times that function. And here we have division between the two. So my scratch work on the side is going to look identical to what we did up here, but then my final answer is different because I'm choosing to plug this information into the quotient rule formula because I saw it as a quotient to begin with. That's why I'm writing out what rule I'm doing. Okay, so just like before, I'll take the derivative of each of these pieces. I have f prime and g prime. Okay, and now I'll take those four pieces, and for my overall derivative, I'm going to plug them into this quotient rule here. And again, with a lot of safety parentheses around things, just in case. All right, so I have g of x times f prime, g of x times f prime, minus f times g prime. So I have f g prime. That 9x to the 8 is the only one of these four that doesn't have addition or subtraction in it. So this is the only one where it didn't have to have parentheses, but everything else definitely did. And we'll have over the original function g, so the original denominator squared. So my denominator will be x to the 9 minus 4 squared. And there's not much we can do to make this look any better, so this is how I'm going to leave my final answer.